Okei, hei kaikille ja tervetuloa. Kello alkaa olla jo puoli, niin voidaan tästä, tulitte kaikki sieltä kerralla sisään, niin aloitella jo heti meidän ohjelmalla. Tässä tervetuloa vielä tosiaan, ja tässä nyt meillä näkyy meidän tämän Fulbright Suomi-säätiön hakijatapahtuman ohjelmaa tälle tapahtumalle. Ja voitaisiin ihan tässä aluksi pyytää teitä osallistujia kertomaan, että miltä aloilta te olette, jos kirjoitatte sinne Q&A-osioon tai chattiin, että mikä on teidän ala, mitä edustatte, niin vähän tiedetään, minkä alan opiskelijoita tai väitöskirjatutkijoita siellä mahdollisesti on linjoilla. Joo. Kauppatieteet, ympäristötekniikka, oikeustieteitä ja journalistiikka, taloustiede, tuotantotalous. Joo, hienoa. Monenlaista. Tervetuloa nyt vielä kaikille, kun olette siellä linjoilla, niin tähän Fulbright Suomi-säätiön hakijatapahtumaan koskien meidän stipendiohjelmia, joita tarjotaan maisteri- ja tohtorivaiheen opintoihin ja väitöskirjatutkimukseen Yhdysvaltoihin. Mun nimi on Karoliina Kokkaan ja olen vastaava ohjelmapäällikkö Fulbright Suomi-säätiössä ja vastaan meidän opiskelija-apurahaohjelmista. Mun kollega Saara Martikainen on myös täällä linjoilla ja hän koordinoi suomalaisille suunnattuja maisteri- ja tohtorivaiheen stipendiohjelmia Yhdysvaltoihin. Lisäksi te tulette kuulemaan 4 opiskelija-alumnin kokemuksia Fulbright-ohjelmasta ja opinnoista tai tutkijavierailusta Yhdysvalloissa. Ja mukana meillä on myös sitten 2 yhdysvaltalaista Fulbright-professoria, jotka kertoo heidän vinkkejään hakeutumisesta yhdysvaltalaiseen korkeakouluun. Hyvä. Keskitytään tänään siis erityisesti maisteri- ja tohtoritutkinto-opintoihin Yhdysvalloissa ja tutkijavierailumahdollisuuksiin väitöskirjavaiheessa. Me puhutaan siitä, miten Fulbright Suomi-säätiö voi auttaa sinua suunnitelmissasi opiskella tai mennä tutkimusvierailulle Yhdysvaltoihin tohtorivaiheessa ja kuinka löytää sitten parhaiten sopivat yliopistovaihtoehdot. Eli sellaiset, mitkä sitten akateemisesti ja taloudellisesti on sopivia ja realistisia sinulle. Ja miten sitten hakea yhdysvaltalaiseen yliopistoon. Tämä on myös yksi meidän aihe, jota tänään käsitellään. Jatketaan lyhyellä esittelyllä Fulbright Suomi-säätiöstä. Fulbright Suomi-säätiö on yksityinen suomalainen säätiö. Ja meidän toiminnan juuret ulottuu 1940-luvulle. Ja säätiön tehtävänä on edistää tiedon ja asiantuntemuksen vaihtoa Suomen ja Yhdysvaltojen välillä. Ja me tarjotaan stipendiohjelmia opiskelijoille, tutkijoille ja eri alojen ammattilaisille sekä sitten myös kansainvälistymispalveluja korkeakouluille Suomessa. Ja meidän säätiön rahoitus tulee useista eri lähteistä. Yli 80% perusrahoituksesta tulee Suomesta ja meidän tarjoamat stipendiohjelmat on pääsääntöisesti kumppaneiden kanssa yhteisesti rahoitettuja. Suurin osa Fulbright Suomi-säätiön stipendiohjelmista kuuluu maailmanlaajuiseen Fulbright-stipendiohjelmaan, joka toimii yli 160 eri maassa. Nämä Fulbright-ohjelmat maittain vaihtelee aika paljon, esimerkiksi just se tarjonta, mitä kukin maa tuottaa opiskelijoille ja tutkijoille, niin vaihtelee. Fulbright-stipendiohjelma perustettiin toisen maailmansodan jälkeen Yhdysvalloissa ja alun perin se perustettiin rauhanohjelmaksi tavoitteena lisätä ymmärrystä eri maiden ihmisten ja kansojen välillä. Mikälaisia Fulbright Suomi-säätiön stipendiohjelmat sitten on ja mikä tekee niistä erilaisia? Miten Fulbright Suomi-säätiön apurahat eroaa muiden säätiöiden myöntämistä apurahoista? Kuten huomaatte, niin me puhutaan apurahaohjelmista eikä vain stipendeistä, eli kyseessä on kattava ohjelma alumnitoimintoineen. Ja keskeistä näissä meidän apurahaohjelmissa on, että kyseessä on myös kulttuurivaihto-ohjelma ja niin sanottu Citizen Diplomat-ohjelma. Me etsitään ihmisiä, jotka on aidosti kiinnostuneita kulttuurivaihdosta ja toiseen yhteiskuntaan tutustumisesta ja oman kulttuurin jakamisesta. Kaikki meidän stipendiaatit on omalta osaltaan Suomen ja Yhdysvaltojen välisten siltojen rakentajia, toimii Suomen Fulbright Suomi-säätiön ja mahdollisen suomalaisen kotiyliopiston lähettiläinä Yhdysvalloissa. Toiseksi me etsitään hakijoita, joilla on motivaatiota tai kiinnostusta työskennellä löytääkseen ratkaisuja oman alan haasteisiin tai yhteiskunnallisiin tai globaaleihin ongelmiin. Eli sellaisia muutoksentekijäasenteen tai motivaation omaavia henkilöitä. Ja kolmas erityispiirre meidän stipendiohjelmissa on se, että stipendiaateille tarjotaan apurahan lisäksi erilaisia tukipalveluja, jotka auttaa toteuttamaan sen kauden Yhdysvalloissa ja valmistautumaan tulevaan matkaan. Lisäksi stipendiaateille tarjotaan myös erilaisia muita etuja ja verkostoitumismahdollisuuksia, joista me puhutaan nyt seuraavaksi. Kokonaispaketti, joka me tarjotaan apurahan saajalle, sisältää yliopistopaikan hakupalvelun, joka tarkoittaa sitä, että stipendiaatti saa apua sopivien yhdysvaltalaisten yliopistojen löytämisessä, jotka sopivat stipendiaatin akateemisiin tavoitteisiin ja tarjoaa myös rahoitusta opintokulujen kattamiseen. Ja meidän yhdysvaltalainen ohjelmapartneri voi muun muassa neuvoa, missä yliopistossa Fulbright-stipendiaatille on tarjolla lukukausimaksuhuojennuksia ja saa tukea sitten myös varsinaisessa hakuprosessissa yliopistoon. Stipendiaateille tarjotaan myös laaja perehdytyskoulutus, joka sisältää verkkomateriaaleja, virtuaalikoulutuksia ja orientaatiopäivän Helsingissä. Ja nämä perehdyttävät yhdysvaltalaiseen kulttuuriin, korkeakoulujärjestelmän ja valmistaa tulevaan Fulbright-kauteen ja sen käytännön järjestelyjen hoitamiseen. Orientaatiokoulutuksessa puhutaan esimerkiksi asunnon etsinnästä ja Yhdysvalloissa asumisen käytännön seikoista ja esimerkiksi ulkomaille muuttavan sosiaaliturvakysymyksistä. Stipendiaateille ja mukana muuttaville perheenjäsenille tarjotaan ohjelmapuitteissa myös USA:n viisumimaksutta ja apua viisumin hakuprosessissa. Stipendiaateilla on Fulbright Suomi-säätiössä nimetty oma yhdyshenkilö, joka toimii heidän tukenaan, ja Yhdysvalloissa tukenaan myös sit yhdysvaltalaiset Fulbright-alumnit ja paikallinen meidän ohjelmapartneri. Stipendiaateilla on myös tarjolla Yhdysvalloissa eri teemojen ympärille rakennettuja Fulbright-seminaareja tyypillisesti ja verkostoitumismahdollisuuksia, jossa voi tavata sitten eri maiden Fulbright-ohjelman edustajia, ketkä on sinä aikana juuri sitten siellä Yhdysvalloissa. Ja kuten me sanottiinkin tässä aikaisemmin, niin Suomessa ennen olleet yhdysvaltalaiset stipendiaatit haluaa myös tukea ja tavata Yhdysvaltoihin saapuneita suomalaisia Fulbright-opiskelijoita ja tutkijoita. Tässä on joitakin kuvia siitä, miten näiden meidän stipendiaattien ja alumnien kohtaamisista eri puolilla Yhdysvaltoja. Ohjelman eduista kun puhutaan, niin on myös mainittava se, että Fulbright-ohjelma on kansainvälisesti tunnettu ja arvostettu vaihto-ohjelma tai kansainvälisen liikkuvuuden ohjelma. Stipendiaatit usein sanoo, että itse Fulbright-status on ollut heille erittäin merkittävä siellä Yhdysvalloissa, koska he on kokeneet, että se on avannut heille ovia tai tarjonnut jotain hienoja mahdollisuuksia. Ja näistä ohjelman edusta kun puhutaan, niin on tärkeää myös mainita alumnitoiminta ja alumniverkosto, jota tässä ollaankin jo muutaman kerran mainittu. Ja näistä sitten meidän stipendiaatit tosiaan hyötyy ennen sitä stipendikautta, stipendikauden aikana ja sen jälkeen. Sitten mä annan Saaran jatkaa vähän meidän alumnien kanssa.
Joo. Eli siirrytään keskustelemaan meidän alumnien kanssa, and we're going to switch to English at this time. So today we have joining us Larry Abdullahi, Eero Kaarsalo, and Joonas Lehtovaara, as well as Lada Sokolova. And they are going to be telling us about their experiences in the US. So first off, I would ask you all to introduce yourselves and tell us your field of study or research and whereabout in the US you are spending or have spent your Fulbright term and what you did there. So Larry, could you start? Take off your mute button. There we go.
Yes, sorry, good morning or good evening in Finland. So I'm Larry Abdullahi from LUT University and currently at University of Michigan, pursuing my PhD or part of my PhD here as a visiting student researcher. And my research is about technology and sustainability, looking at it from a collective action perspective.
All right. And yeah, and Larry is a Fulbright Kautta Foundation awardee for the 24-25 academic year. Okay, so how about Eero next?
Yes, hello everyone. Good afternoon to Finland. My name is Eero Karsalo, and unfortunately my camera in Teams is not working today, so apologies for that. I'm a Fulbright EMAN grantee, and I am studying a one-year master's program in entrepreneurship and innovation at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. Very pleased to meet you all.
Thanks, Eero. And then Joonas.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so hello everybody. My name is Joonas Lehtovaara, and I was a Fulbright scholar in 21-22. I studied or did part of my PhD in California, UC Berkeley, and I'm in the field of construction and construction operations management, so in a technical field. And as I said, the Fulbright scholar was part of my PhD. I graduated a couple of years ago, and currently I'm working in between the industry and the academia. So I'm working as a development manager in an engineering office, and at the same time I'm continuing my research as a postdoc in Aalto University at the same time.
All right, thanks. And Joonas was Fulbright Technology Industry of Finland grantee.
Yes.
Then we have Lada.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm Lada Sokolova, and I hold ASLA Fulbright grant for 24-25 academic year, and I'm currently doing my master's degree at NYU, New York University, Tandon School of Engineering, and my major is in construction management. The program is going to take 2 years, so I have 1 year ahead as well.
All right, thanks for the introductions. So next we could talk about what parts of the Fulbright program have been the most important to you, and what would you recommend, or why would you recommend applying for the Fulbright program? So we could go in reverse order. So Lada, could you continue?
Yes, absolutely. So in my case, I would say that Fulbright is, of course, more than just a grant. It's much more than financial support. And in my case, the most important point was during applying to the universities. So I had no idea what is New York University about, and my original idea was to go to the other place. But yeah, it is so that from Fulbright I have received all the support related to university choices, then to applications, and then of course all the routine things like visas and the tests and everything. That was like so relieving experience.
And why would you recommend applying for the Fulbright program?
I would like to recommend it because it makes your vision, it broadens it so that you realize that everything is actually possible. And even if you are a social climber or you don't believe that that's going to be me, it's worth trying. And as soon as you are going to land in the United States, and as soon as you are going to mention that you are a Fulbright grantee, that's actually going to make significant changes in what you think about yourself and how ambitious you are related to your future.
Okay, thanks. How about Joonas?
Yeah, so for me, I think the biggest benefits in addition to the financial support was how Fulbright helped me with all the application and for example, the visa process, the preparation of going abroad, as well as broadening my networks beyond the construction or my immediate network of research. So when I was planning going to the US, it was 2020 when, as everybody knows, COVID hit us quite hard, and I had to extend or postpone my scholarship for 1 year, and the process where it was so uncertain how the visas are working and what's happening with all of the restrictions in travel and everything. It was tremendous help from Fulbright to actually me to even be able to go to the US with all the practicalities. So that was a huge help for me, and it allowed me to focus on my research and not spend all the days just figuring out how to get to the US and, for example, work with the visas. And as I mentioned, in addition to that, I think I've grown quite strong networks in terms of my immediate research sphere in construction management. But I think that during and after being in that exchange, having the networks of meeting other Fulbright scholars and meeting other scholars in the UC Berkeley outside of the technical fields was something that Fulbright enabled quite nicely for me. And I think those are the reasons why I would recommend having or applying for the Fulbright for others as well.
Okay, thanks, Jonas. And then Eero.
So I would perhaps highlight the remarkable network of international academia and students that Fulbright provides access to. I really think that Fulbright, kind of facilitates this networking very active with some of the best minds in the world. And I've met some of my best friends through the Fulbright Welcome Network, particularly. And also it's kind of like a safety net for somebody maybe who's going to the United States for the first time. It gives a lot of information and insights about the country. And as Karolina was mentioning, the reputation of Fulbright here in the United States is very, very esteemed. It's a very prestigious grant and opens a lot of doors. So yeah, those would be my main reasons why Fulbright is a great choice.
Okay, thanks, Eero. And then Larry.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I agree with what all of them have said. Maybe I could add one or two. So the one is just where Eero ended. The network building and the fostering collaboration is really a very good network that the Fulbright provides us with. I have a typical example. When I moved here the first month, there was I had some challenges with accommodation and kids going to school because of where I was living and where their school is. And then I met one Fulbright alumni who had come to Finland 2 years ago through the network that was shared to us. And so they were very helpful, at least for that first week, to pick the kids to school because they were going to the same school as their kids and all that. So this is a very incredible value that's, I mean, it goes beyond the scholarship stipend. One thing I would also add is the community and the institutional support, like some of my colleagues have stated. I mean, from visa application all the way to the enrichment seminars and all that we get throughout the Fulbright tenure is really incredible. And I mean, why I would advise students to apply for this. I mean, the US has unparalleled, I mean, academic resources and all that. And by going to US through the Fulbright, I mean, you get to access some of these resources that would otherwise probably would have been impossible if you didn't go through the Fulbright, and also accessing certain privileges just because you are a Fulbrighter.
All right, great. Thanks, Larry. We'll hear more from the alumni in a little bit. Jatketaan tästä taas suomeksi, eli seuraavaksi sitten graduate-opinnoista Yhdysvalloissa ja meidän ohjelmista.
Saara,
joo.
jos mä voisin tähän väliin vaan sanoa, että jos ihmisiä tulee kysymyksiä, niin voitte laittaa niitä sinne chattiin, niin me sitten sieltä katsotaan niitä, kun meillä on toi Q&A-osio, niin vastaillaan sieltä.
Joo, chatti tai Q&A, että...
Kyllä.
Joo. Eli nyt puhutaan meidän maisteri- ja tohtoriopiskelijoiden mahdollisuuksista Yhdysvalloissa ja sitten minkälaisia stipendejä Fulbright Suomi-säätiöllä on teille tarjota. Ja mennään heti tähän yhdysvaltalaiseen systeemiin. Eli Yhdysvalloissa on tosi suuri määrä korkeakouluja, colleges and universities. Niitä on noin 4000. Ja noin 1000 voi suorittaa graduate-tason tutkintoja, eli maisterin tai tohtorin tutkintoja. Ja vertailun vuoksi Suomessa on yhteensä noin 40 yliopistoa, tai melkein, ja ammattikorkeakoulua. Eli sitten suuresta valikoimasta johtuen on tosi tärkeää, että ottaa kunnolla selvää eri korkeakouluista Yhdysvalloissa ja yrittää etsiä itselleen sen parhaiten sopivan, eli parhaimman matchin. Yhdysvalloissa on julkisia ja yksityisiä korkeakouluja, ja niiden koko vaihtelu on suurta. Jotkut yliopistokampukset on omia pieniä kaupunkejaan, ja sitten jotkut kampukset sijaitsevat keskellä urbaania metropolia kaupunkien sisällä. Toisissa korkeakouluissa on vahva painotus tutkimukseen, toisessa enemmän opetukseen, ja opiskelijoiden määrä luennoilla voi vaihdella suuresti. Joissain on paljon pieniä ryhmäopiskelutunteja ja toisissa taas enemmän massaluentoja. Ja kun puhutaan korkeakouluista Yhdysvalloissa, niin puhutaan sanoilla college, university, institute, community college, junior college. Ja ero universityn ja kollegen välillä ei aina ole ihan selkeä. Kolleget yleensä tarjoaa kandidaatin tutkintoja ja universityt yleensä sitten kandi-, maisteri- ja tohtoritutkintoja. Mutta terminologia näiden kanssa ei ole ihan suora tai selkeä, että niitä voi myös olla sitten toisinkin päin. Ja junior- ja community collegeit, ne on korkeakouluja, joissa voi suorittaa kanditutkintoon kuuluvia perusopintoja. Ja niitä kutsutaan myös 2 vuoden associate degree-tutkinnoiksi. No mitkä on sitten teidän mahdollisuudet Yhdysvalloissa? Jos haluaa suorittaa koko tutkinnon Yhdysvalloissa, voi usein saada yliopistolta rahoitusta opintokuluihin. Yhdysvalloissa saa korkeatasoista opetusta, niin kuin alumnitkin tuossa kertoi. Ja siellä on tosi laaja valikoima erilaisia opinto-ohjelmia, joita ei löydykään just Suomesta. Korkeakoulut usein tarjoaa todella kattavia palveluita kansainvälisille opiskelijoilleen. Ja sitten tietysti siellä saa kokea yhdysvaltalaisen ainutlaatuisen kampuskulttuurin. Jos päätät hakea Fulbright-ohjelmaan, kuten jo mainittiin, niin saat apua meidän yhdysvaltalaisilta ohjelmapartnereilta. Esimerkiksi kun etsit sopivia korkeakouluja, jotka vois tarjota myös rahoitusta opintoihin. Ja saat apua yliopistohakuprosessissa, kuten suosituksia sinulle sopivista korkeakouluista ja just siitä matchista, ja mistä esimerkiksi Ladakin tuossa puhui. Tämä placement-palvelu on todella arvokas palvelu, kun ottaa huomioon, että tullaan tosi erilaisesta korkeakoulujärjestelmästä täältä Suomesta. Placement-palvelun avulla työmäärä hakuprosessissa vähenee ja saat oman alan asiantuntijoilta tukea ja neuvontaa. Ne tuntee yhdysvaltalaisen korkeakoulumaailman ja hakuprosessit juuri sinun alaltasi. Ja siellä saa esimerkiksi palautetta hakupapereista ja ne lähetetään sitten teidän puolesta yliopistoihin. Saat myös tietoa siitä, mitkä olisi sellaisia yliopistoja, joista voisi saada parhaat rahoitusmahdollisuudet. Näillä placement-palvelun asiantuntijoilla on tietämystä siitä, mitkä yliopistot on aiemmin tarjonneet hyviä rahoituspaketteja kansainvälisille opiskelijoille ja mitkä voisi tarjota kokonaisia tai osittaisia lukukausimaksuhuojennuksia, eli tämmöisiä tuition waiver huojennuksia. Ja placement-palvelu kattaa myös hakuprosessista aiheutuvia kuluja, jotka liittyvät vaikka suomalaisten tutkintotodistusten evaluointiin. Seuraavaksi tietoa meidän stipendiohjelmamahdollisuuksista. Ja tällä hetkellä hakemuksia varten on auki 3 stipendiohjelmaa maisteri- ja tohtoritason opintoihin. Eli meillä on tämä Fulbright Edman apuraha, maisteriopintoihin. Ja siinä on tuommoinen erikoisuus, että se on niille tarkoitettu, jotka on Tampereen seudulta kirjoittaneet ylioppilaiksi. Sitten meillä on tämä Fulbright Technology Industries of Finland Grant teknologia-aiheisiin ja Fulbright Kaute Foundation Award. Ja se on pelkästään sitten tohtoriopintoihin. Ja siinä oli Economics, Business and Technology aiheet. Ja tämä ASLA Fulbright Graduate Grant-ohjelma ei ole tällä hetkellä auki hakemuksille, että siitä saadaan lisätietoa maaliskuun loppupuolella. Ja tiedotetaan tästä kaikista stipendiohjelmista meidän nettisivuilla ja somessa. Ja nyt hakuaika akateemiselle vuodelle 26-27 päättyy 11. toukokuuta päivän lopussa Suomen aikaa. Ja tästä on vielä muita stipendiohjelmia, jotka aukeaa hakuun myöhemmin tässä keväällä tai syksyllä ja jotka saattaisi kiinnostaa teitä. Eli meillä on tämmöinen Finnish Language and Culture Teaching Assistant Program, FLTA, maisteriopiskelijoille. Sitten on ASLA Fulbright Pre-Doctoral Research Fellow Program, ja se on tarkoitettu tutkimusvierailun toteuttamiseen, ja sen aikaväli on semmoinen 6-12 kuukautta, tai sen pituinen voi olla se vierailu. Sitten on vielä tämmöinen Study of the US Institutes for Scholars and Professionals, eli lyhyemmin SUSI-ohjelma, ja se on lyhyen vierailun stipendiohjelma, ja se sopii ammatilliseen kehittymiseen tohtorivaiheessa oleville. Ja siinä on aina yleensä joku tietty teema tässä ohjelmassa, ja ne vahvistuu yleensä syyskuussa. Jos näistä ohjelmista joku kiinnostaa, niin seuratkaa ihmeessä meidän nettisivuja ja somea loppukesästä ja alkusyksystä. No, mitä sitten pitäisi ottaa huomioon, kun hakee Fulbright-stipendiohjelmaan? Meillä on käytössä omat arviointikriteerit. Ne voi löytää nettisivuilta jokaisen stipendiohjelman alta. Ja Evaluation Criteria-otsikkoa tuossa slaidissa klikkaamalla pääsee suoraan sinne meidän nettisivuille lukemaan enemmän siitä. Meidän lähestymistapa arviointeihin on kokonaisvaltainen, vähän niin kuin noissa yhdysvaltalaisissa korkeakouluissakin. Eli ei katsota pelkkää akateemista menestystä, vaan kiinnitetään huomiota myös esim. Hakijan motivaatioon ja miksi on hakemassa juuri Fulbright Suomi-säätiön stipendiohjelmaan. Ja sitten katsotaan, että mikä on se laajempi potentiaalinen vaikutus sillä hakijan suunnitelmalla. Haastattelulla on suuri merkitys meidän hakuprosessissa, eli siihen löytyy sitten myös erilliset ohjeet, ja sinnekin pääsee klikkaamalla The Interview-linkkiä tuossa slaidilla. Te tulette saamaan sitten jälkikäteen nämä kaikki slaidit, niin ei hätää, jos ei pääse nyt klikkaamaan. Nyt olisi taas aika kuulla meidän alumneilta. Out of the alumni that we have present, we have 2 master's students who are completing their whole degree in the US, and then we have 2 visiting student researchers. So Larry and Jonas, you were visiting student researchers, and Eero and Lada are master's students. So we have a few topics. One is, how would you describe your own experience as a student or a visiting student researcher at a US university? Like, how would you compare it to the experience in Finland, like the teaching style or the studying style, campus culture, student life? What would you like new applicants to know? And then if, secondly, you could please tell us about your process while you were looking for suitable universities and deciding on certain options. I know that was a year ago or more for you guys, but if you could share on that process, that would be great. So if we could start with Larry again. So what would you say about your experience there now?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think that my experience had been really phenomenal. I would have different experience from Lada and Eero because I'm not really taking courses. But I volunteered in one course, technology innovation for sustainability. I mean, helping the professor and building some network there. And one thing I would say, or maybe the difference I realized at least, is that the US system kind of is more rigorous, and it's also more more discussion and dialogue and brainstorming, as against maybe what I was used to in my home university. It's more student led. So students are more or less given the chance to take the lead in what is being taught and all that. So that is a bit different scenario. And the workload could also be very much heavy here in the US as opposed to how it is in Finland. In terms of doctoral students, I've seen also that they have a very structured process where the first 2 years you are taking courses, then you write your candidacy exams that determines whether you get to further your PhD, and then from there you concentrate more on the research and finally defend your PhD. So which is a bit different from what I'm used to. In terms of the process that I went through, I mean, I didn't have that network when I started. So LinkedIn was really a very great resource for me. That is how I found out most of the universities and reach out to some of the schools and the professors. And most of them are very, very responsive also. So you send them some cold email, first investigating or maybe checking out on their profile what they are doing and how that aligns with your work, and then you contact them. So from there, if they agree that you send them some kind of letter or proposal, then you kind of build on that network. Of course, you can also build on if you have existing network or the network of your professor in order to get access to all these universities. So that's probably a little that I would like to share.
Okay, thanks. We could hear from Jonas, who was the other visiting student researcher next.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, I did my scholarship in UC Berkeley, California, near San Francisco. And for me, the experience was extremely positive. For me, the scholarship, it was in quite of the long or on the late part of my PhD, so between the third and the fourth year. And at that time, I already had been completed my basic studies and collected most of my data. So at that point, it was more, I would say, like expanding what I've already learned, and I felt I had quite a bit of freedom on deciding what I wanted to do with my research in the US. Of course, aligned with the research that we did in Finland and what we did in the US. So one big thing that I tried to do, I tried to bridge or bring more collaboration between the research groups that I participated in Finland and the US. So in that sense, I would say that being active by myself, I was able to decide quite well with the professor that I was engaged, or research group that I was engaged in the US, that which kind of things I wanted to do. We wrote a couple of conference papers. I participated in or audited 2 master's level courses. And for example, we arranged this kind of an international forum or webinar series based on the research that we did together. So for me, I really appreciated that I was, or the professor and the research group in the US allowed me to take part in their research, but at the same time pursue the things that I found interested in and contribute in the research of our both groups at the same time. So I think that brings it to some of the tips that I would encourage to do when you're thinking about going to research exchanges, that if you're proactive by yourself, you have quite a lot of movement flexibility, at least in my case, that what you can do. And from my experience, the professors that I contacted on the US, they were quite open for different ideas, which kind of research you want to pursue, as long as it's something that they are interested in doing as well. And for me, the process was the process for looking for the possible research group and universities. It was based on mostly on the contacts that we already had within our research group. So our research group and the professors in the group in Finland had a few contacts in the US, and I started contacting them and providing or trying to access the professors in the US in that way. And I think in terms of deciding where to go and which university to go, I would, or at least myself, I saw that preferring the research group and the fit of your exact research and your PhD topic over perhaps the overall university ranking or the university in general is more important, because the research group is the team that you're working with for the time that you are in the US. So having a professor that is interested in specifically your research, I think it's the most important thing that and when I was able to find the fit and the research group that benefited my research, I think the collaboration based on that was it was quite smooth. So in addition for looking what kind of university you want to apply for, think about the specific research group and do research on what the specific research group does.
Yeah, thanks. And we just got a question about that. So you can actually, on the Fulbright, you can just go do research as well. So you don't have to apply to a program. So that's exactly what Larry and Jonas have done.
Yeah.
So now we could hear from our master's students. So Eero and Lada. So Lada, could you maybe start and share a few experiences and about your process for applying?
Yeah, of course. So first about university life here, and this is actually my third university where I'm trying to do my master's degree, this time hopefully until the end. So I can compare to two universities in Finland, Lappeenranta University of Technology and Aalto University. And what I have found here, so first of all, the program is considered as full-time. It's a master's degree. However, what we have here is that that's going to take 2 years. Normally in Finland, that same amount of credits would take just 1 year. So we can consider that like it's quite relaxed. However, we have a very nice workload, maybe not that much really go into the lectures, but we are doing independent projects and we have plenty of independent studies, and all of our professors are actually adjunct professors. So they do their full-time works or business in the industry, and they are bringing their information directly from the field, what is actually highly valued. Then about the university life, what I also love about it is that it's full of out-of-school activities. We have different clubs, and also if you are interested in some specific kind of sports, or if you are interested in some specific direction in your industry, in your field, then most likely you are going to find an opportunity to join a club. And in my case, I have also been applying for scholarships to go to different conferences. Have been attending an energy conference here in New York City, then a water conference when it comes to wastewater treatment plants and so on. That expands your network significantly, and you are actually going to choose what you are going to focus on. So your university life is actually going to be like you're going to build it by yourself as actively as you want it. Then
about the application process.
Yes, and about the application process, actually, my dream was going to Columbia University, and then I've also been applying to Arizona State University and also Texas A&M University, and I think that eventually all the support what I've got from IIE was really important, because the advisor found the university for me, which is the proper one. I had no idea about New York University, and they are teaching construction management. So that was like, in my case, it was a very, very, very lucky coincidence. And well, it's about the tests. Yeah, the English tests, they were as they were, nothing special there. And GRE, also nothing special, but it was it was smooth. The process was easy, but I need to highlight that it was also smooth and easy because I had that IAE advisor, and I think I cannot exaggerate how a lot of support I received from there, because otherwise, if you're going to apply by yourself, it means that you are going to do the application to each university separately. And well, it's a lot of work. We don't have here in the US the same system like we have in Finland, so that you are going to apply just with one application to all the schools. And that's really a lot of work. And Fulbright and IAE really helped with that.
Thanks. And IIE is the International Institute of International Education, which is our partner organization in the US. And then we have, if Eero, you could quickly give your comments on this subject as well.
Sure. So my experience as a master's student in entrepreneurship and innovation has been extraordinary so far. I would describe it maybe as collaborative, very eventful, inspiring, welcoming, and also, because I'm in California, very relaxed. So in terms of the differences between the US and Finnish study culture, I would say in the US, the academic success is very important, but also equally important is contributing to the community and building relationships with your cohort and the university. So there is overall a very strong sense of community in the study experience. I would say the workload is about the same as in my Finnish bachelor's degree, which I did in Aalto University School of Business. But the learning experience at the same time is so much more practical, especially here at USC. The teaching is, I would say, much more interactive and conversational, and also interaction is very highly encouraged outside of the lectures too. So teachers expect students to be proactive and engage outside of the classroom as well. And regarding the application process, I would say it's highly intensive because there are a lot of options to choose from. So I encourage grantees to do a lot of background research on different universities, not only from the academic side, but also regarding the kind of place that you would like to spend a semester in, whether it be like in a city, like an urban area, or more urban, like a rural area. There are so many different options, and the diversity in that regard, it's enormous in the United States. So yes, that'd be my advice regarding the application process.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Eero. And yeah, thanks alumni for those comments. We're a bit behind, so I'm gonna move forward. Switch languages again. Siirrytään nyt sitten itselle sopivan yliopiston valintaan. Eli koska Yhdysvalloissa on niin laaja korkeakoulukenttä ja erilaisia opiskeluympäristöjä ja tutkimusryhmiä, niin on oikeasti tosi tärkeää kartoittaa erilaisia yliopistovaihtoehtoja ja etsiä omiin niihin yksilöllisiin tarpeisiin sopivat yliopistot, ihan niin kuin alumnitkin puhui. Ja niin kuin sopivammat yliopistot, ohjelmat ja opettajat sen sijaan, että hakee vain niihin muutamaan yliopistoon, jotka Suomessa tunnetaan. Ja tämä on myös tässä Fulbright-ohjelmassa tärkeä ajatus. Eli on tosi tärkeää tehdä tutkimusta eri yliopistovaihtoehdoista, tutkia niiden koulutustarjontaa, tarjolla olevia ohjelmia ja kursseja, selvittää akateemisen henkilökunnan erikoistumisaloja ja tutkimussuuntauksia, ja miettiä sitten sitä, että mitkä yliopistot vastaa parhaiten niihin omiin tarpeisiin ja pidemmän tähtäimen ammatillisiin suunnitelmiin ja päämääriin. Ja valintaan vaikuttaa luonnollisesti erityisesti nuo yliopiston akateemiset tekijät, esim. Tarjolla olevat opinto-ohjelmat ja painotukset, erikoistumissuuntaukset ja tutkimussuuntaukset. Ja monelle graduatevaiheen opiskelijalle keskeistä on myös se, että kenen professorin tai opettajan, tutkijan kanssa haluaa työskennellä tai opiskella. Ja se voi vaikuttaa siihen valintaan. Me puhutaan hosteista näissä tilanteissa. Ja erityisesti jos on menossa edistämään väitöskirjatutkimusta niin kuin Visiting Student Researcher statuksella Yhdysvaltoihin, niin kannattaa selvittää tämä host että mistä semmoinen sinulle sopiva löytyisi. Ja tässä kohdassa kannattaa ottaa huomioon myös, että niin sanotut Ivy League-korkeakoulut, niin siellä hosteilla ei yleensä ole useinkaan aikaa tavata opiskelijoita. Et me ollaan meidän alumneilta kuultu monesti näitä tarinoita, että ne on niin kiireisiä, vaan siellä sit opiskelijat ovat paljon omillaan. Eli sitten kannattaa miettiä sitä siltäkin kannalta, että mitä hakee ja mitä siltä hostilta toivoo. Ja sitten on tärkeää myös tarkistaa, että yliopisto on akkreditoitu, eli tämä tarkoittaa sitä, että yliopisto täyttää tietyt tasovaatimukset. Ja tämä on esim. Tärkeää Kelan myöntämää opintotukea ajatellen. Ja tuossa slaidissa tuo accreditation-linkki, niin sitä klikkaamalla pääsee sivustolle, josta voi hakea eri kouluja ja katsoa niitä akkreditointitietoja sieltä. Sitten voi kuulostaa siltä, että tässä on tosi iso työ, ja niin siinä onkin, mutta jos osallistuu tähän placement-palveluun, niin kuin nämä meidän alumnitkin on suurin osa osallistunut, niin tämä työ on selkeästi pienempi. Eli sieltä saa sitten tätä apua ja henkilökohtaista neuvontaa. Sitten tietenkin on kyse kustannuksista, eli se vaikuttaa yliopistovalintaan, ja kannattaa miettiä kokonaiskustannuksia, lukukausimaksuja, mutta myös elinkustannuksia, koska ne vaihtelee tosi paljon USAssa. Sielläkin on elinkustannukset noussut huomattavasti viime vuosina. Tuosta näette tuon vitoskohdan Cost of Living, niin opiskelijoille suositellaan olevan vähimmillään $2,800 ja enimmillään $4,300 per kuukausi varattuna pelkästään elinkustannuksiin. Ja siihen on listattu noin halvimmat alueet versus kalleimmat alueet. Eli jos laskee sitten siihen 9 kuukauden opiskeluaikana tai tutkimusaikana, että paljon tarvii pelkästään asumiseen, niin 25-38 tai 39 000. Pitää myös huomioida se, että minkälaista rahoitusta yliopistolta tarjotaan ja että hakee rahoitusta tämmöisiin rahoituksia tarjoaviin yliopistoihin. Eli kaikki nämä vaikuttaa omiin kokonaiskustannuksiin ja siihen, mikä yliopisto on niin kuin sinulle realistinen mahdollisuus. Eli sen yliopistohakusuunnitelman pitää olla taloudellisesti toteutettavissa. Usein yliopistovaihtoehtoja mietittäessä pohditaan just sitä, että kuinka tunnettu se yliopisto on tai miten se sijoittuu ranking-listoille. Niin tämä aihe on yleensä ulkomaalaisille hakijoille, suomalaisille hakijoille vähän haastava. Eli tunnetaan yleensä vain muutama yhdysvaltalainen yliopisto, niin kuin alumnitkin tuossa mainitsi, ja ei ehkä osata ajatella niitä vaihtoehtoja laajasti. Eli tulee sitten rajanneeksi ne omat mahdollisuudet minimiin, ja tällöin niin kun voi konkreettisesti vaarantaa sen opiskelupaikan saamisen ja loppujen lopuksi jäädä ilman opiskelupaikkaa. Eli on tosi tärkeää ymmärtää, että on tiettyjä maailmanlaajuisesti tunnettuja yhdysvaltalaisia yliopistoja, mutta ne ei todellisuudessa ole kaikilla aloilla niitä huippuyliopistoja, ja ne ei välttämättä todellisuudessa ole se paras matchi juuri sinulle ajatellen esim. Tulevaisuuden suunnitelmia. Ja se kannattaa myös huomioida, että täällä Fulbright-Suomi-säätiöllä me oletetaan, että stipendiohjelmaan hakeutuvat ymmärtävät tämän. Eli on tärkeää, että jos me myönnetään stipendi, niin että stipendiaatti pääsee oikeasti myös aloittamaan opintonsa siellä Yhdysvalloissa ja toteuttamaan sitä suunnitelmaa, johon stipendi on hänelle myönnetty. Eli yliopistovalintoihin kannattaa siis suhtautua monipuolisesti. Sitten seuraavassa osiossa katsotaan tutkinto-opiskelijoiden yliopistohakuprosessia ja hakuvaatimuksia. Eli niin kuin äsken puhuin, on tärkeää, että ei jätä opiskelupaikan saamista yhden oljenkorren varaan, vaan pitää tehdä kattava ja realistinen suunnitelma yliopistoista, joihin hakea. Ja maisteriopiskelijoita kehotetaan hakemaan vähintään 4 ja tohtoriopiskelijoita vähintään 5 yliopistoon. Ja tämän hakusuunnitelman tulee olla tosiaan tasapainoinen. Ja tällä tarkoitetaan siis sitä, että siinä yliopistolistassa voi olla mukana näitä kilpailtuimpia yliopistoja tai niitä unelmayliopistoja mukana, mutta sillä listalla tulee myös olla yliopistoja, joihin ei ole kaikista vaikeinta päästä sisään. Eli sen pitää olla semmoinen lista, mikä on sitten tasapainoinen. Ja listaa tehdessä täytyy sitoutua myös siihen, että pääsi sisään mihin tahansa niistä yliopistoista, niin on myös valmis menemään sitten mihin tahansa niistä yliopistoista. Ja ennen kuin katsotaan tarkemmin hakua vielä, niin on hyvä katsoa vielä hakuprosessia yleisesti ja erityisesti kansainvälisten opiskelijoiden näkökulmasta. Eli tässä on graduate admission prosessista vähän, eli graduate school, korkeakoulu, on se taho, joka asettaa ne yleiset minimipääsyvaatimukset ja minimipistetulokset hakijoille. Sitten on department tai laitos, ja yleensä professorit ja opettajat valitsevat opiskelijat näihin eri opinto-ohjelmiin. Ja on myös mahdollista, että joku hakemus jaetaan laajemmin laitoksen sisällä, jos katsotaan, että hakija sopisi paremmin johonkin toiseen opinto-ohjelmaan kuin mihin on alun perin hakenut. Sitten on vielä International Office, eli kansainväliset palvelut, ja sillä on myös roolinsa tässä hakuprosessissa. Ja sitten kun hakija on otettu korkeakoulun sisään, niin International Office tarjoaa usein orientaatioita ja neuvontaa ihan käytännön asioissa. Eli mitä sitten tyypillisesti kuuluu graduate degree-ohjelman hakuprosessiin? Sitä voi ajatella niin, että on esittäytymässä yliopistolle näiden kaikkien dokumenttien kautta, ja jokainen pala kertoo sitten sinusta jotakin, ja yhdessä ne kertoo sitten koko tarinan. Ja tästä näette listan yleisesti tarvittavista dokumenteista, eli on se itse hakemuslomake, sitten on opintorekisteriotteet ja tutkintotodistukset, essee, suosituskirjeet. Graduate-tasolla korkeakoulut Yhdysvalloissa yleensä pyytää 3 suosituskirjettä. Sitten on testitulokset standarditesteistä, kuten GRE ja GMAT, sekä kielitasotesteistä, ja tuossa taas GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, niin on linkki, pääsette siitä meidän nettisivuille, jossa sitten on lisää tietoa näistä testeistä. Sitten on lääkärin lausunnot, rahoitussuunnitelma, portfolio ja muita dokkareita riippuen alasta. Ja sitten hakemusmaksut, eli hakeminen korkeakouluihin maksaa joitakin satoja dollareita per haku, mutta näitä ei joudu ollenkaan maksamaan, jos Fulbright-stipendiaattina osallistuu tähän placement-palveluun, josta me ollaan puhuttu. Ja yleisesti voi ajatella, että korkeakouluhakemus on melko samanlainen kuin Fulbright-stipendiohjelmahakemus, eli kun hakee Fulbrightia, niin se työ on jo kertaalleen tehty, tai ainakin osittain tehty. Esimerkiksi suosituskirjeitä voi käyttää, jota käyttää Fulbright-hakemuksessa, voi usein käyttää myös yliopistoon haettaessa. It's time to hear from our alumni for the final time. We have 5 minutes about for this. So Lara and Eero, you're both completing a master's degree in the US. Could you tell us about the application process more deeply? Like, based on your experience, what 3 important tips would you give to those who are now applying to degree programs? For example, like essay writing, preparing for the tests we talked about, like you actually just mentioned already earlier, the GRE, or communicating with universities, getting references, applying for funding. Do you have any tips about the process that you haven't already given? Lada, do you have anything to say about that first?
Yes, of course. Thank you. And as the most important, I would like to highlight that it's really needed to look what universities, what are the programs in the universities you are going to apply. And the most universities, they have published their programs, the courses and the classes, and what is mandatory, what are the electives, and so on. And I think for all of us, it's also important to come to the United States to learn something specific instead of, like in my case, I was completely sure that everything what was related to civil engineering, I can get it in Finland for free if I need it. So I was looking for a school with construction management and with a really narrow focus on that. So that's important, and those courses are like, it's public information. Then, yeah, about communication with the universities, you can be very open and very active because also the students are normally the clients of the universities. So in my case, I had very good calls and discussions with Miami University, and they are usually really interested to give you more information. And also, yeah, of course, funding opportunities. At least NYU provides additional funding to Fulbrighters, which is really, really helpful. And about the recommendations, yeah, as Sarah told, that better to start in advance. And I'm really happy that my connections who have been providing the recommendations, we are still in touch. We are like very warmly in touch in professional life. And remember that some of your connections, especially if you haven't met for a while, like for 5 years, they may want to meet you before they write anything for you, and that's quite important to do in advance and to update your situation. But the good thing is that you're most likely going to have warmer relationships after that.
Thanks, Lada. What about Eero?
Yeah, so I can
Tips?
I can echo what Lada said about the recommendations. Asking early is very important, and asking people that you know well and who know you well is very important. And also, since a lot of universities are asking for most often 2 or even 3 recommendation letters, and so if an applicant applies to, let's say, 4 schools, that makes a lot of recommendation letters overall. So talking with your recommenders early on how to maybe utilize the same kind of text for multiple universities might be a good idea to minimize the workload they will get from the writing those letters. And in terms of essays, like personal statements that a lot of universities ask for, I would say storytelling is very important because America is a country of storytellers, so they value the personal background and motivation and creative sides of the writing also. So yeah, that's something that I would emphasize in the essay writing. And regarding the standardized tests, some universities require GRE, and business schools, especially the GMAT test. The school that I eventually ended up going to did not acquire those, but some of the other ones that I applied to did. So I had to do the GRE, TOEFL, and GMAT. And they can be a bit tricky, but then again, with IIE, you can do those for free multiple times too. So I think that's a huge benefit of participating in the IIE placement service.
Yeah, that actually was not said, that if you take part in the placement service, you can also receive vouchers for these standardized tests and get retakes as well. Okay, thanks, Eero. Jonas or Larry, do you have anything to add about as a visiting student researcher on the process of finding a host, or did you already cover what you wanted to earlier?
Yeah, I think it was covered quite well. I would just like to add, I think it was already mentioned, but really big part of the process, at least for me, was the recommendation letter by the hosting professor. So that was getting the professor to agree to have me with them and having them to provide a recommendation for the universities what was the key, at least in my process. And when that's done, it's, at least from my side, it was more for practicalities than rigorous test or anything. So focusing on getting good recommendation letter was the key, at least for me.
Do you mean the host letter?
Yes, the host's letter for the university.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thanks. How about Larry?
Yeah, I agree with Jona on that also about getting the host letter support, especially as a visiting student researcher. It helps a lot. But one thing I would also add is to start the whole process, I mean, on time. Start way before. So I mean the process can be long and there are so many requirements. So if you wait till the last minute to juggle everything together, you're gonna find yourself wanting. So start building the relationship and the network and start preparing your documents way ahead of time. And then in terms of the motivation letter, like Errol mentioned, I mean, US and the Fulbright itself values diversity, values your background and your experiences, and they want to see all that reflect in your motivation. And so you have to be authentic and tell your story as how it separates you from the rest, because the Fulbright is really competitive and a lot of people are applying for that. So you just have to draw into your own background, your experience and all that. I had a lot of negative should I say advice, from colleagues, my circles, and who thought that there was no way I was going to make it in the Fulbright application process because of my background and what some things they thought. But Fulbright values it's a fair and equity process, and they value, like I said, diversity. So just be yourself, be authentic. And also with the reference letters, I can't stress the importance. So typically the Finnish professors, or some of them might just write maybe few sentences for you, but because the evaluators, some of them are also US professors. So just let the professors or whoever is going to write the reference for you tell them how important this is, and they should probably know you more to write more about you.
Yeah, thanks, Larry, for sharing. We are a bit behind schedule, so we had scheduled time for questions with the alumni, but I think we've received some questions already in the chat, and Carolina has answered some of them already. Carolina, you've followed the chat, so is there anything that would be a question for the alumni that hasn't been answered?
I'm thinking that to point out that we will also, as Sarah mentioned, we will send you the slide set afterwards, so we can also then answer to the questions that we are not now able to do. So we can cover them in the follow-up message for you. So this way, I would say that we could now move forward.
Yeah.
To the next part of the session, and that will be then the panel or the discussion with the US professors.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna thank the alumni at this point. Thank you for coming and making time for this. We really appreciate it and your insights. So we're gonna say goodbye to you and continue with the scholar panel.
Yeah, and you are of course welcome to stay online if you wish, but we will now then continue to talk to the US professors. But thank you so much for alumni for joining. This was really useful for everyone.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. So we will now next hear from our US professors, Fulbright professors who have been grantees in Finland earlier. And we are very pleased to have Aditya Jory, Professor of Information Sciences and Technology from George Mason University. He was a grantee in Finland, a distinguished chair earlier, and now also this year a Fulbright Specialist awardee. And
are you able to put on your video? Okay, great.
Yeah, great.
Hey. Hi,
hello,
everyone.
Good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you. So do you want to do all the introductions or should I do my introduction first?
Let's I will still introduce Dakwon Kim,
Okay,
and
sure.
then we can continue.
Please.
Thank you. Yeah, then we also have Dakwon Kim, Spencer Faherly, MBA professor from Florida State University. He was a Fulbright University of Vasa Scholar Awardee this academic year earlier in Finland. But I could now let our professors to get started and describe their own study path. So that way you will also hear a little bit where did the professors did their own degrees and in what type of institutions they studied. This will reveal you a little bit information about the US higher education scene. Please go ahead.
Great.
Aditya, you can start.
Yeah, sure. Let me start. So, hi everyone. My name is Aditya Jori. I'm a professor of information sciences and technology at George Mason University in the College of Engineering and Computing. And I've been in the US now almost 25 years. So I came as a graduate student. So kind of the journey that a lot of you are hoping to follow. And I first came to University of Georgia, where I was for 1 year for a master's program. And then I did a second master's at Georgia Tech, which was my original intention. And then I did my PhD at Stanford. So these three institutions are very different. So University of Georgia is a land grant university, is a big university with its campus, like an hour from Atlanta. Georgia Tech is also a public university, relatively big, but in an urban setting, so in the city of Atlanta. Stanford is a private university with a huge campus in Silicon Valley. So very, very different kind of schools. And after Stanford, I was a professor at Virginia Tech. Once again, another land grant university in a small town. And George Mason is next to Washington, D.C. So once again, very close to the city, but also a public university. Stanford is the only one among these which is a private university. And so all of these institutions are very different in their structures and how they function and work. In terms of funding, in terms of graduate admissions, and in terms of the support for students and so on. But overall, I have to say, based on my experience at least, that every institution does a really good job of supporting students, and for the most part, the admissions processes are quite clear and fair. Do you want me to speak some more about that, or should we go to that one?
Yeah, I think that was excellent. We can then hear from Dark One next.
Well, could someone turn on my video? I tried to turn it on, but keep turning back off by itself multiple times.
Yeah, I'll see if there's a restriction, but you can go ahead and introduce yourself first.
All right. My name is Daekwon Kim. I'm as a Carolina, I introduced Spencer and Fairley MBA professor at Florida State University. I got my degrees from Yonsei University in Korea and moved to Ohio, USA for my master's degree at the Kent State University, and then eventually moved to Chicago for 4 years of work, and then got my PhD from Michigan State University about 20-some years ago.
Can you explain a little bit the differences between those institutions that you attended?
Well, Yonsei University in Korea is a private institution, and in urban area, and a lot of kids and a lot of cultures and nightlife stuff. So I had I enjoyed the nightlife over there quite thoroughly, and then moved to Kent State University that is located in a small town called Kent, Ohio, and there was nothing and no public transportation, and it was very, very interesting settings. And in the US, at Kent and Michigan State, I realized that students are much more independent and in the driver's seat in their education than in Korea. And then I at the Michigan State University, which is in Lansing, Michigan, or East Lansing, Michigan to be precise. it's a mid-sized city in the US, but still, the campus is big, but not much around the campus. So again, it is very typical settings unless US institutions are located in a big city like DC or New York or Chicago, things like that. So it's what I found is in the US, students are much more independent in their educations, and faculty members do expect that all students are independent and responsible. I don't know if that's sufficient, but that's what I found.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk next about the graduate admission and a little bit about the topic of what you need to consider or take into account when you choose the master's or doctoral programs that you would be applying to. What would you say what you need to consider at this stage when you are selecting the different institutions for your submission plan?
It's a great question, and it's a hard process because you has so many options, right? So as one of your alumni earlier said, which I thought was a great point, he said that if you know very specifically what you want to do, so like within civil, he was interested in construction management, that makes your job a little easier, because within that, then you can look at the places that do a good job within that subdiscipline. And that is the way to kind of go first of all, is to look at institutions who are good at that subject. If you're going for a broad admission, so like you want to do computer science, then it's much harder to decide. And then I think the reputation matters, but I think to Daquan's point, some of that also comes to, the kind of place you might want to live in. So I consider the land grant universities like University of Georgia or Virginia Tech, Penn State, or Michigan State as the canonical American universities with large college campuses and a very different environment. But they're usually in rural settings. They are far from the city. They were designed to be that. The other option in terms of location would be to be in an urban place. And for a lot of people who want to also work after getting their master's or PhD in the US, the urban settings are closer to where jobs are, right? So those are some of the things that you should think about. But I still think for me, it was always about which institution is doing good research and teaching in the subject. And especially for a doctoral program, selecting the right mentor and working with the right advisor and mentor, I think, is more important than almost anything else. So you want to go by the reputation. You want to be in a place which does really good research in your area. But that relationship, in some ways, kind of comes to define your career to a large extent. So that is something to, I think about when you're looking for doctoral programs specifically. And then, of course, there are considerations of funding and all. So those are there as well.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Aditya. How about Daquan? What do you think? What to take into account?
Well, my video does not turn on.
No, I'm sorry. There's no restriction on it, so it's I don't know.
Weird. Okay, I turned on multiple times. I keep turning back off. Sorry about the videos. Well, with that said, though, I've been serving on the MBA admission committees for almost 10 years in the College of Business. And we have a huge influx of applications, of course, every year. And as we process, what we try to use most commonly is two things. If I have to pick two most important things for admission into our MBA program, test scores and GPA. In earlier sessions, some of the alumni mentioned that the importance of test scores, right? I have to emphasize, unfortunately, I do know and I am aware that the test score does not predict how successful the student is. But as a committee member, I have to use certain materials in the application packages that is more standardized across applicant. So two things, test scores and then GPA. If I have to pick another one, then recommendation letters. That altogether give the presentation of who the applicant is and then what kind of a background he or she brings in. However, someone mentioned in the chat that they are interested in the doctoral program. Doctoral program in our area is not an extension of a master's program. There is no connection between master's program and doctoral program. Master's programs are to train future managers in business area. So it's very, very different from doctoral program. Doctoral programs are to train future scholars who are going to be researcher and faculty members. So in that sense, there is no connection between master's program and doctoral program in most business schools, including our institution. Now, with that said, for doctoral programs, as mentioned, the fit between the student and the potential mentor or faculty member is most important thing of all. The test score is secondary as long as it, she or he meets a minimum requirement, and then GPA indicate that he or she worked relatively hard in the lower level program. Then the fit is most important. But along with the fit, what I would emphasize is not just a fit, and that the background that support the fit is important. So if someone is interested in electronic commerce or electronic retailing as a research topic, then he or she should describe what kind of a background that lead the candidate to such kind of an interest in the topic in electronic commerce. So background and then supporting background and research fit between the students, potential students, and the mentor is a very, very important factor for doctoral program.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to do a quick follow-up. I mean, I couldn't agree more. You have to really make this distinction. And the other distinction I think you have to make also, and this is from behind the scenes, because I have been on master's, doctoral at multiple institutions, all these committees. If you are applying to a really competitive PhD program, then it is quite likely that the person you want to work with or your mentor or advisor might actually have no say in your admission. Okay, so a lot of these places, that even in our program for computer science, there is a committee that goes through all the applicants. And to be fair, they want to make sure everyone has scores above a certain, there is no like there's a basic minimum, but beyond that, like he said, for PhD admissions, scores matter, but not that much. But the committee decides and admits the students. And then they are placed with different mentors. Because there's so many applicants, mentors themselves really can't play a part. So you have to it really depends on your program. Some places you can contact your potential mentor and they can, assist you with the admissions process if they think it's a good fit. Other places, they would have no say whatsoever. In master's program, often is just a graduate committee or a few people who go through the applications and make a lot of the decisions, especially because there's so many applicants. And at different institutions, the other difference is like at Stanford for doctoral and even for masters, the students themselves were part of the committee as well. So the students also have a say on who gets admitted or not. So there's a very, very wide variation in terms of, how the process works. So you kind of have to cover all your bases in terms of the score, the recommendation letter, statement, and really being authentic, as one of the alumni say. I mean, especially for PhD program, that's how you will find the best fit, I think.
Great. These are very good tips. Thank you so much. Let's then talk about if a doctoral student here in Finland is thinking about a research visit to a US institution to work on their doctoral research, and they are looking for a place or host in the US. First of all, what does it mean? What does the US institution is able to typically provide for this type of visiting doctoral students if they would come there for one academic year? And what kind of tips you would give for approaching a potential host, how to go about with that?
Who should go first?
You can start, Daikwan.
Okay. Well, I can only talk about the situation in our college, but every college does this differently. So please keep that in mind. And with that, what's happening in our college is there is a committee for doctoral level exchange and then faculty level exchange. And that committee will review the applications and then eventually approve. And then we do not say no that much, but eventually what it means is the foreign students or scholars interested in coming to FSU as an exchange scholar or students, they have to submit kind of application with a research proposal and things like that. And then we evaluate the research potentials at FSU before we approve it. Now, then for that process, the potential exchange student in the doctoral program may contact one of the faculty members in our college and then discuss some potential research activities and so forth, and then eventually submit the materials. But it also depends on where the visitors will stand in terms of the progress he or she has been making in the previous institutions or the current institutions. In our program, first 2 years are more structured and then coursework. And then second half, later 2 years are about the dissertation. So if the students finish the coursework at the current institution and coming to FSU, then most likely he or she will focus on doing research collaboration with one of the faculty members in the department or in the college. But if he or she did not finish the coursework, then most likely he or she will be able to take some of the courses we offer in our college. That's all at this point.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a good response. But I mean, and I will add that it really, really varies from institution to institution, place to place, because some of the restrictions on doing that have to do with the visa. Because you have to come to the US on a visa that restricts what kind of support and funding US institutions can provide you. So that is a huge consideration. So even if faculty here have funding to support you, it doesn't necessarily mean that they can actually pay you. So that kind of is something to be thinking about, whether you're coming with your own funding or you want the institution to put up some money for you. Even after that, like Daikwan said, there is a committee, there is someone who looks over the process, because every time you bring in a student or any scholar, there are some costs attached to it. There are space, administrative overheads, and so on, and somebody has to pay them, and that's usually the host. So once again, it really varies on that as well. I mean, in terms of whether the host can cover those costs for you. And beyond that, I mean, yeah, I think those are the few considerations. But my advice always is that if you really think that you would benefit from it, you should always contact the host institution or the faculty you would want to work in. Because depending on the research culture, depending on the lab culture, different institution and different faculties within institutions have a lot of leeway and options to do things. So always contact and ask. I mean, that's always my advice, is that you should always do your part and ask and see if it's worth pursuing.
Great, thank you. How about then, you both have been a Fulbright scholars in Finland earlier, and what would you say for those who are thinking about research visit in the US, how to get most of the research visit and how to make it successful? What kind of tips you would give for that? Type 1, you want to start?
Me first?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the personal relationship in research mode in doctoral program is crucial, and I cannot emphasize the importance of a personal. Personal means how cooperative, and then working hard, helping each other between the visitors, and then sponsoring a faculty member. That makes a huge difference, and it is one of the very, very important factors. So if so, then the local sponsors would be also supportive of the visiting scholars, whether doctoral program or foreign scholars. But I would say the relationship is very, very important. Then the output, the research output, is to me more of a byproduct.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least the way I do it usually is always have a plan of what you want to achieve, but always be ready to change it, because things on the grounds are often different than what would happen. Like when I came, it was tail end, it was COVID time, right? Things were very different. So, but it was still great and productive and social and everything. So have a plan, but be willing to change it if needed. And of course, as that one said, the relationship that you have with someone is very important. And explore new things when you go there, but have a plan, but don't over plan in terms of like trying to achieve too much. Keep it simple, because I think what happens is I have seen that sometimes either a lot of people have no plan, or they want to get too much done in that time, which doesn't happen, because it's a new place, you're exploring new relationship, you're trying to also get to know things. So it's like you have to find that balance. Don't try to overachieve. It's not a great experience, and it just doesn't always work out either. So
that's also true. Thank you very much for our Fulbright professors. Thank you so much for your insight and advice and tips for the Finnish audience. And thank you for the time for coming to this event. We would like to still highlight one event until before we close for our audience, another Fulbright Finland event that is coming this spring. If Sarah, you can have the slide, or do I do from here? I can also go there myself. It will take a little time here so that I show you the Fulbright Forum that will take place in March. It's another opportunity for you to learn about and hear from our US grantees. This is the information on March 26th from 4 to 6 o'clock. There is opportunity to come and listen our US scholars, teachers, and graduate students currently in Finland. They will share information about their research and studies. Here are some of the topics that they are concentrating related to education. And then we also had here a couple of interesting links for you. Here's a CV catalog of the current US grantees in Finland. They are a great network and a resource for you as well. They would be happy to discuss with you if you have any thoughts. There might be some people who are from a university you are interested in going to in the US, or they might represent the same discipline. So you can get in touch with them, as well as the Fulbright Finland outreach ambassadors, who are volunteering alumni, mainly Finns, that have been on a grant program in the US, and they can help you also in your, for instance, if you are applying to a US university or looking for a host institution and you have questions during that phase. So they would be also eager to help you and support you. Their email address is available here on the website when you click this link, and you also get the slides as mentioned, so you can do that later. And finally, we highly recommend you to follow us on social media, so that way you are able to see when we have different programs launched or events taking place, and simply hearing great news from our grantees on the US side or here in Finland, and you get to learn more about the Fulbright program through these channels. But this was our information we wanted to share with you today. As mentioned, you will receive these slides, and we will also then answer in the follow-up message to the remaining questions that we were not able to cover during this event today. But thank you so much for participating, and hope to hear from you. Do let us know if you have any questions, and send us an email or call. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.